Let's explore autistic history and the Autism Wars. This is part 103 of a series. All right, we have gone over Bernard Rimland's information and history, the man who was considered the modern, or the father of modern autism research, and read about an article that was published about him on his passing in the LA Times that was published in 2006, before the Defeat Autism Now organization he launched was disbanded, and before all the hoopla with Andrew Wakefield and I believe Brian Deere exposed Andrew Wakefield. All this is going to be happening in this era going towards the 2000s and further out. But right now, I want to share with you a letter of support for applied behavior analysis that Bernard Rimland had wrote in support of, or actually specifically, early intensive behavioral intervention, the Lovaas method. Yeah, so warning, they speak plainly in here, and they don't hide anything in this era. They just say whatever. So there's a lot of, just be warned, it's not gonna be fun to hear someone describing some of this, especially in regards to young autistics, but this is what was said. Intensive Early Behavioral Intervention, a letter of support. And this is from 1994. So we're way back in history here. This is the year after my oldest is born. So, all right, this was written by Bernard Rimland, PhD, Autism Research Institute, and gives the San Diego address. And it starts off with some quotes. We are the parents of a 3-year-old autistic child. After reading Let Me Hear Your Voice and talking with other parents who have tried early behavioral intervention, we have become very eager to enroll our child in an intensive early intervention behavioral program. The school officials are skeptical and reluctant. Would you be willing to write us a letter of support to help us get this kind of treatment for our child? And so Rimland responds here, after responding individually to the first dozen or so such requests, I wrote a generic to whom it may concern letter of support, which has been sent to families throughout the US, Canada, and recently even Australia, who have phoned, faxed, or written for help, since there are many other families who might also benefit. Here in print is my letter of support. Now, all right, it says here, to whom it may concern. As a psychologist with over 30 years of experience and research in the field of autism, and as the editor of the Autism Research Review International, I want to go firmly on record as supporting the value of intensive early behavioral intervention as a modality, actually the most important available modality for bringing about improvement in most autistic children. My support for the value of intensive early behavioral intervention is based on 2 lines of evidence. Research. There is no question whatever that the research evidence strongly favors the value of intensive early behavioral intervention in autism. The first study, published in 1985 by Finsky et al. Of the Princeton Child Development Institute in Annals of Intervention in Developmental Disabilities, Volume 5, pages 849 through 856, reported that 60% of the autistic children enrolled in the program before age 5 had improved enough to be successfully mainstream and not just included. The PCDI study attracted little attention. The major impetus impetus. I-M-P-E-T-U-S, I think impetus. And a tick. Oh, goodness. All right, the major impetus for the current high level of interest in intensive early behavioral intervention programs in autism came with the publication of the controlled experiment in which 19 children involved in intensive intervention program were compared on a number of measures with 40 control group children who participated in less intensive programs. 9 in the intensive group could be mainstream versus only one of the controls. The strongly positive results of this study at UCLA by Ivar Lovaas and his colleagues were so unexpected that the editors of the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology subjected the report to special review by 3 respected associate editors prior to its publication. And it's talking about volume 65, number 1, 1987, pages 3 through 9. Subsequently, a follow-up article was published in the American Journal on Mental Retardation, that's the name, volume 4, 1993, in which McEachin, Smith, and Lovaas reported the excellent educational progress and normal social achievement on all measures of the intensive group was continuing through their teenage years. A number of highly respected professionals were invited to comment on this most recent report, and their comments, almost uniformly very favorable, were published in the same issue. Similar highly positive results based on an early intensive intervention program were published by Harris et al. At Rutgers University in the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disabilities, volume 21, number 3, 1991, pages 261 through 290. For those of you who are interested in looking deeper, you can find it. While the PCDI and UCLA studies use low-functioning autistic children, and that is their terminology, we do not use that kind of language here in the autistic community. So UCLA studies used low-functioning autistic children. The Rutgers study children were mildly to moderately affected. It's not easy, right? Hearing them describe us without us in such words. All right, so next up is clinical evidence. Here we go. The magic and power of autism researchers achieving very much godlike status at this point, bringing in the power of parent advocates that they have in their community, that they have brought in and indoctrinated into their belief system. And these parents really believe, I mean, they honestly believe that this is going to be the hope for their child that they needed. And it's going to happen for their child in their lifetime. Yeah. All right, so clinical evidence. Since the publication of the Lovaas study, I have been contacted by numerous parents throughout the United States who have undertaken early intensive behavioral intervention with their own children, sometimes on a home program basis and sometimes through their school systems. I have been very favorably impressed with the consistently strong endorsements for the early intervention programs that I have received from these families. One mother telephoned me recently to report that her son had shown more improvement in the 3 weeks in which she had been in the highly intensive Lovaas program than she had seen in the previous 3 years in his regular school program, which had been specifically designed to help autistic children. Such enthusiasm is not unusual, he writes. So the next part of this long letter that he wrote for parents, Bernard Rimland, back in 1994, was it? It's going to be misconceptions, and I'm going to pick back up with that in the next video. So thank you very much for exploring a bit more autistic history with me and figuring out how the heck we got here in the Autism Wars in 2023. See you later.